From Indiana's #1 news source, this is Fox 59 News at 10.
I, Joseph Robinette Biden Jr., do solemnly swear.
Democracy in action. Joe Biden becomes president on the same steps insurrectionists took over just 2 weeks ago.
We'll write the next great chapter in the history of the United States of America, the American story.
Threats of violence didn't stop the peaceful transition of power or the tradition of Inauguration Day.
And now tonight, the new president and vice president are getting to work. And their predecessors are back home again.
All my fellow Hoosiers, it is great to be back home again.
We have live team coverage on this historic day in Washington. Fox 59 News at 10 starts now. Inauguration Day wrapping up, and this was the scene in the nation's capital just a few moments ago. As you can see, a spectacular fireworks show, the Lincoln Memorial, Hollywood on display. As the president and vice president there, you see Vice President Kamala Harris with her husband and President Joe Biden and Dr. Jill Biden, the First Lady of the United States, enjoying that celebration tonight in Washington, D.C. on this one historic evening.
Yeah, there you see President Biden on the White House balcony as that celebration wrapped up moments ago in the nation's capital. President Biden taking office today during a time of very deep division in this country. And tonight and throughout the day on this Inauguration Day, he's been calling for unity.
Together, we shall write an American story of hope, not fear, of unity, not division, of light, not darkness.
Thanks so much for joining us tonight at 10 o'clock on this Inauguration Day. I'm Dan Spieler.
And I'm Fanchon Stinger. As you just saw, it is an historic evening. President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris are promising to get to work right away, and that is exactly what they did.
The president already signing 15 executive orders today focusing on immigration, climate change, racial equity, and the coronavirus. He says he plans to sign more in the coming days. Two of President Biden's priorities are getting more coronavirus relief through Congress and accelerating the distribution of the coronavirus vaccine.
I think some of the things we're going to be doing are bold and vital, and there's no time to start like today.
President Biden also rejoining the Paris Climate Agreement today. Former President Trump withdrew the United States from that agreement in 2017.
That I will faithfully execute
the office of President of the United States.
Office of President of the United States.
That is President Biden taking the oath of office just before noon today. During his inaugural address, he paused for a moment of silence to remember the 400,000 people lost to the coronavirus pandemic.
He also emphasized the need for unity, his push for an end to political division coming 2 weeks after insurrectionists attacked Capitol Hill in the very spot where this morning's transfer of power took place. President Biden says he will strive to be a president for all Americans.
For without unity, there is no peace, only bitterness and fury. No progress, only exhausting outrage. No nation, only a state of chaos. This is our historic moment of crisis and challenge, and unity is the path forward.
Meantime, today, Vice President Kamala Harris became the 49th Vice President of the United States, the first woman, first Black, and first Asian Vice President in American history.
Another symbol of the transition of power is what's called the military pass in review. Watch. President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris reviewing the military troops after the inauguration ceremony. It is a tradition for the new commander-in-chief.
Now, today's inauguration ceremony was truly unlike any we have ever seen before for a couple of reasons. One was, of course, the insurrection at the Capitol 2 weeks ago today. Security concerns leading to more than 20,000 National Guard troops deployed all around Washington. That includes about 600 members from Indiana. We didn't see any security problems or violence in Washington today. Of course, the other big reason for all the changes, the coronavirus pandemic. People there in masks today, a smaller socially distant crowd, and a smaller virtual parade. As you see, some of those traditions went on, but looked quite different from what we're used to through the years. We saw the president and his family take a short walk up Pennsylvania Avenue to the White House. The rest of the parade, which included performances from celebrities, took place virtually today.
A show of bipartisanship and tradition at the inauguration earlier today. Former presidents Bill Clinton, George Bush, and Barack Obama all in attendance. And later in the afternoon, all of them joined the first family to lay a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier, this at Arlington National Cemetery. Notably absent from this pageantry today was outgoing President Donald Trump. It is the first time the outgoing president was not at the inauguration in more than 150 years. He left Washington, D.C., though, this morning after a send-off from friends, family, and supporters. Tonight, he is in Florida. Here's a look at the goodbye ceremony at Joint Base Andrews before he took off.
Just a goodbye. We love you. We will be back in some form.
If you'd like to see his full message, we do have it posted at fox59.com. We do know now former President Trump carried the tradition of leaving a note for the incoming president at the White House. We do not know what that note said, but the President Biden tonight saying that he will perhaps disclose the contents after he speaks with the former president. Outgoing Vice President Mike Pence was at the inauguration today before coming to Indiana. You see him there, Vice President Kamala Harris escorting him from the ceremonies afterwards as they descend the steps there. This the symbol of the transition of power.
Typically, as part of the ceremony, the presidents take part in as well. Meantime, tonight, the former Indiana governor is now back in his hometown of Columbus, Indiana.
It is great to be back home again. Thank you for coming out.
An emotional Mike Pence today. We were there this afternoon when the former second family landed back in Indiana to thank supporters.
Serving as your vice president was the greatest honor of our life. But now that season of service has come to an end, we just had to come home.
The former vice president says his family does plan to move back to Indiana later this year, this summer.
Much more on that to come. And Fox 59's Mike Sullivan was also in Columbus today. He has more on their message for Hoosiers.
It was an emotional return for the Hoosier who promised his wife Karen Pence they would soon move back to the state. In his speech, it was about reflection.
My brother, your son, Mike Pence.
Back home again in Indiana, we hear it so often.
Well, hello, Indiana.
For former Vice President Mike Pence, today was about a return to reality after 4 years of the surreal.
So far, I haven't seen one face that I haven't known for years.
His speech today was about appreciating every moment of his service, right from his first step toward the stage.
Baby, it's all right now.
It certainly began the instant he entered the plane.
We have a tradition on Air Force Two. We always invite someone to sit in the jump seat.
Any guests?
In the cockpit.
It's the best view from the plane.
In the jump seat today was Mike.
His wife calling it an attempt to gain perspective.
I will always be proud to have served in an administration that came alongside doctors and nurses and first responders.
Only today was his moment, even as he congratulated President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris on theirs, and also thanked his boss for the opportunity to serve.
Let me also take a moment to say thank you to President Donald Trump and Melania for all they have done to make America great again.
So what is next for the former VP? Not even his brother, Congressman Greg Pence, is quite sure.
You know, I think he was busy trying to do the right thing out in Washington, which I think he absolutely did. He's a hero for what he did, but I don't think he's really looked forward.
Pence's mother surely has.
Mom called me yesterday and she said she's proud of me.
Telling her son he put her on the map.
I said, Mom, it's actually the other way around.
Congressman Greg Pence did say that his brother will be involved during this transition of power. We just don't know in what capacity. In Columbus, I'm Mike Sullivan, Fox 59 News.